Hi everyone, welcome back to a new post today, and today let's complete off the preliminary point of view current affairs for the month of July 2023 for the upcoming UPSC preliminary examination of 2024. So let's get started without wasting much time. And the first very important issue was about the NIA. So there was a lot of issues with regard to Khalistani that were coming up in this month of July, and the NIA was in news, and NIA was in news because of a recent amendment as well. So let's have a look at what exactly is the NIA. So the National Investigation Agency, or the NIA, was it was a statutory body. The bill was passed in 2008, and it has concurrent jurisdiction which empowers the central agency to probe terror attacks in any part of the country, covering the offences including challenge to the country's sovereignty and integrity, including bomb blasts, hijacking of aircraft, ships, attacks on nuclear installations as well. Now the amendments to the NIA that have brought about offences relating to smuggling of high quality counterfeit Indian currency under the definition of Terrorist Act, aimed at damaging the monetary stability of the country. Basically, this organization was set up to investigate terrorist attacks after the 26/11 and the parliament attack that happened previously. Now the NIA is a specialized counter-terrorism law enforcement agency in the country. This agency is empowered to deal with investigation of terror related crimes across the states without any special permission from the states, under a written proclamation of the Ministry of Home Affairs. Now the primary mandate of the NIA is to investigate and prosecute offences that have national and cross-border implications, specifically the focus is terrorism, insurgency and other related matters. It is empowered to investigate cases that involve threat to sovereignty, security and integrity of India. And in 2019, this NIA Act, under which it was established, was amended. The bill gives it more teeth to the NIA and empowers the NIA to probe terror attacks targeting Indians and also Indian interests abroad. And that is how the Khalistani issue is being taken up by the NIA as well. And the second most important thing is with regard to the Narcotics Control Bureau. So as of recently, there was a lot of consignments of drugs that were being caught by the Narcotics Control Bureau, and it is a central law enforcement agency and an intelligence agency. Both NIA and NCB are under the Ministry of Home Affairs, Government of India. The agency is tasked with combating drug trafficking and the use of illegal substances under the provisions of the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act. It was established in 1986 and is responsible for coordination with the Indian states and other central departments' implementation for India's international obligations with regard to drug trafficking and assisting of international and foreign drug related law enforcement agencies. And the next most important, I would say third most important issue for the day today is National Research Foundation Bill of 2023. Let's have a look at what exactly is this bill and the mandate. So the Anusandhan National Research Foundation Bill of 2023 was introduced in the Lok Sabha, and it repeals the Science and Engineering Research Board Act 2008. So it repeals the Science and Engineering Research Board Act of 2008 and dissolves the Science and Engineering Research Board that was set up under the Act. Now the bill establishes an Anusandhan National Research Foundation, which will be a apex body in the country to provide strategic direction for research, innovation and entrepreneurship in the fields of natural sciences, including mathematics, engineering, technology, environment and earth sciences, health and agriculture, scientific technology, interfaces of humanities and social sciences as well. And the fourth most important issue is regarding delimitation. So the Delimitation Commission of India, which is a high power body to delimit or to draw the boundaries of the territorial constituencies, both parliamentary and assembly constituencies, was set up 4 times: in 1952 under the Delimitation Commission Act, which is a Parliamentary Act of 1952, 1963 Delimitation Commission Act of 1962, in 1973 under the Act of 1972, and 2002 under the Act of 2002. Let me tell you, the 84th Amendment Act of the Constitution in 2002 finalized the delimitation up to 2026, and so the next delimitation will happen after 2026. And this delimitation body acts fixes the limit or the boundaries of the territorial constituencies. Recently, it did so with regard to Assam, and now there is a demand to do so even in Jammu and Kashmir as well, but that hasn't happened. And it is it draws the territorial constituencies, both parliamentary and assembly constituencies in the country, and the job of delimitation is assigned to a high power body which is known as the Delimitation Commission. The other name for the Delimitation Commission is the Boundary Commission, and in India, such commission has been formed 4 times. Now, let me tell you, this high power body whose orders have the force of a law cannot be questioned in any court, and the orders come into force on the date specified by the President of India and not the Election Commission of India. The copies of the order are laid before the House of the People, that is the Lok Sabha, and the state legislative assemblies concerned, and no modification. Let me tell you, there are no constituencies for Rajya Sabha because it is the Council of State and represents the states and not the people, and it is not directly elected by the people as well, though partly the Legislative Council is. And the next most important issue, fourth most important issue for the day, is the Rajya Sabha nominated 4 women members to the panel of vice chairmen. Now, what is this panel of vice chairmen? Now, the Jagdeep Dhankar, who is the chairman of the Rajya Sabha and also the vice president of India, nominated 4 women parliamentarians to the panel of vice chairmen, and all the women who were nominated were first time parliamentarians. So, what exactly is this panel of vice chairmen? Now, under Article 118 of the Constitution, it empowers the House of the Parliament to make rules for regulating the procedure and the conduct of the business of the House, and the Speaker in the Lok Sabha and the Chairman in the Rajya Sabha are responsible to maintain decorum and to ensure that the procedures are followed well in the Houses, and also to conduct the business in the House. Now, under the provision of the Constitution, Rajya Sabha adopted rules, its own rules for conducting the procedure, conducting the business, and also regulating the procedure in 1964. Under the rules of the Rajya Sabha, the chairman can nominate amongst the members a panel of vice chairmen that hold office until a new panel of vice chairmen is nominated. Any one of them can preside when the chairman or the deputy chairman of the House, that is the Rajya Sabha, is absent. Now, he or she has the same powers of the chairman while presiding over the Rajya Sabha, and let me tell you that any of the members of the panel of vice chairmen do not preside over the House when there is a vacancy with regard to the chairman or the deputy chairman. Only they preside when they are absent. So this needs to be remembered, that only when they are not present and not when there is a vacancy. So it says that the member of the panel of vice chairmen cannot preside over the House when the office of the chairman or the deputy chairman is vacant, and during such time the chairman's duties is to be performed by such members of the House as the President may appoint for that purpose. And the next most important issue, that's the 5th one, is the monsoon session of the Parliament. Now, this deals with the sessions of the Parliament, and the sessions of the Parliament are dealt with Article 85 in the Constitution, which speaks about summoning of the Parliament. The power to convene a session of the Parliament rests with the government, and the decision is taken by the Cabinet Committee on Parliamentary Affairs, which is formalized by the President, in whose name MPs are summoned to meet for the session. So the President summons the session of the Parliament and the Governor of the state legislature. India does not have a fixed parliamentary calendar, but by convention, the parliamentary meets 3 times in a year. That is why we have 3 sessions in a year. The longest being the budget session, which is held according to at the end of January and continues up to the first week of May. After a break, and the session after a recess, I would say, or break, and the second session is in the 3rd week of July, which finishes in August, and the winter session is the shortest, which is only from November to December, and now we are going to have a winter session. Now, the summoning is a process of calling the members to meet in the Parliament. The President summons each house of the Parliament from time to time, and the gap between 2 sessions of the Parliament cannot be more than 6 months, which means that the Parliament needs to meet at least twice in a year, and this is said by the Constitution itself. And number 7 is the orbit raising maneuver, which was conducted for Chandrayaan 3, and this orbit raising maneuver was conducted by an organization called as ISRO Telemetric Tracking Center, which is located at Bengaluru, and it is an ISRO organization. So it conducted the orbit raising. Let me tell you that only United States, China and Russia have managed to land on the lunar surfaces, and India is the first to go on the soft land on the south pole of the moon. The orbital maneuver is also called as burn, and it is a regular protocol during the space flight. During this exercise, the orbit of the satellite or the spacecraft is increased to get closer to the intended satellite or the planet by using propulsion system, and this process includes rocket firing and also adjustment of the angles as well. And all the three maneuvers have been conducted successfully, and that's how Chandrayaan 3 was able to soft land on the moon. And at number 8 is the code of ethics, which is laid for the OTT platforms to display age-based classification. Now, the Information Broadcasting Ministry had published a list of guidelines for online curated content, commonly known as the OTT platforms, to ensure display of age-based classification rating in the advertisements and other promotional material by them on various media platforms. The Code of Ethics for the online curated content under the Information and Technology Guidelines or Rules 2021 provides for the classification of content into age-based categories, as well as inclusion of classification rating and consumer advice on any print, television and other online promotional or publicity material for the programs. The code lays down the detail for classification. It states that all the content transmitted or published or exhibited by the publisher of the online curated content or the OTT must be classified into 5 rating categories. This includes U for suitable for children as well as all the other ages, UA 7+, the content suitable for persons aged 7 years and above, and UA 13+, UA 16+, and A category. As per the code, the content may be classified based on themes and messages as well, such as violence, nudity, sex, language, drug and substance abuse, horror as described in the schedule, which may be modified from time to time. This also made available content that is classified for U13+ or higher, having to ensure access control mechanism including parental locks made available for such content. And coming up next at number 9 is the center bans export of a non-basmati rice. Now, why did this happen? The center banned the export of non-basmati rice, white rice, with immediate effect to boost the domestic supply and to control the inflation, because the rate of rice had increased almost 11% in a year and 3% in past month. Non-basmati rice accounts for almost 25 to 30% of the total rice exported from the country, and the major regions where the rice is exported is Thailand, Italy, Spain, Sri Lanka and USA. Concerns over the rice production in the Kharif season were hit because of inadequate rainfall, especially deficit in rainfall in Bihar, Jharkhand, Odisha, Punjab, Haryana, that have played a part in the government's decision. And why is India crucial for the global rice trade? Now, India accounts for 40% of the world's rice exports. The rice shipment in 2022 was more than 4 exporters combined to Thailand, Vietnam, Pakistan and US. And the rice export is to more than 140 countries. India exports 17.86 million ton of non-basmati rice in 2022. And coming up next as number 10 is USA plans second summit with the Pacific Island states, and the second summit was held with the Pacific Islands Forum in the White House in September. And the Pacific Islands Forum is an intergovernmental organization that aims to enhance cooperation between the countries and the territories of Oceania, including formation of a trade bloc and regional peacekeeping operations as well. It was founded in 1971 as the South Pacific Forum and changed its name in 1999 to Pacific Islands Forum, so as to be more inclusive of the forum's Oceania spanning membership of both North and South Pacific Island countries, including Australia. It is an observer at the United Nations General Assembly as well. And at last year's summit, 14 Pacific Island nations, Biden pledged to help the islanders to fend off economic coercion of China, and also gave out a joint declaration. United States also recognized Cook's Island and Neo for the very first time during the summit, and also planned to open an embassy in Vanuatu as well. And at number 11 is Russian President Vladimir Putin did not attend the BRICS summit in South Africa. That is because the ICC has issued an arrest warrant and according to, as South Africa is a signatory to the ICC, this will violate the rules of ICC. Now, what exactly is ICC? ICC is the International Criminal Court. It is very different from the International Court of Justice, that is a specialized body of the United Nations. Now, this is an international intergovernmental organization and an international tribunal that is seated located at Hague, Netherlands. It is the first and the only permanent international court with jurisdiction to prosecute individuals and not state for international crimes of genocide, crimes against humanity and war crimes and crimes of aggression. The ICC is distinct from the International Court of Justice, an organ of the United Nations that hears disputes mainly between states and not individuals. Established in 2002, it was established under the Rome Statute. And at number 12 is the Kerch Bridge that was in news. Now this Kerch Bridge is located in the Kerch Strait. It is between Russia and Crimea, and recently this bridge was blocked, and therefore you just needed to know where exactly in the map this is located. So it is located between Russia and Crimea in the Black Sea in the Kerch Strait. At a number and the next one is India always speaks to Sri Lanka about the 13th Amendment. So what exactly is the 13th Amendment? It is related to devolution of power or creation of provincial councils, and it was brought into being in 1987 under the Sri Lanka-India Accord, which was signed by the then Prime Minister of India Rajiv Gandhi and Jayawardene, who is the President of Sri Lanka at that time, which stated devolution of powers to the provinces in Sri Lanka. In 1987, Sri Lanka Parliament passed the 13th Amendment Act of 1978 to the Constitution of Sri Lanka, and provincial councils were established. That the 13th Amendment to the Constitution is an amendment to the Sri Lankan Constitution to create provincial councils in Sri Lanka. It also made Sinhala and Tamil as the official languages of the country, and also declared English to be a linked language. And therefore, India calls upon Sri Lanka to implement the 13th Amendment in letter and spirit, and to give more devolution of powers to the provincial councils, so that the Tamils living there also can enjoy certain powers. And the next most important issue is with regard to ASI. Now, ASI has been given permission to inspect the Gyanvapi Mosque. So, ASI, let me tell you, is an organization under the Ministry of Culture for archaeological research and protection of the cultural heritage in the nation. Maintenance of ancient monuments and archaeological sites and remains of national importance is a prime concern of the ASI. Besides, it regulates all the archaeological activities in the country as per the provisions of the Ancient Monuments and Archaeological Sites Remains Act of 1958. It regulates the Antiquities and Art Treasure Act as well of 1972. It maintains the ancient monuments and archaeological sites and remains of national importance, and it is divided in the country for this purpose is divided into 37 circles. The case now with regard to Gyanvapi involves a religious dispute and ownership of the Gyanvapi Mosque, which was previously a temple and converted into a mosque by the then King Aurangzeb. And in 1991, the local priest filed a petition in the Allahabad court asking permission to pray within the premises of the mosque complex, saying that originally it was part of the Kashi Vishwanath temple and it was abolished by Aurangzeb. So this is the issue, and now recently ASI has been given the power to investigate or to excavate and see whether the shivling is really located there in the temple premises or no. And coming up next is the fact-checking unit. Now, fact-checking unit was it is an organization that was formed by the government under the IT rules. Now, 16 organizations including Amnesty International, Access Now and Human Rights Watch issued a joint statement with regard to the latest amendments made in the Information Technology Rules of 2022, under which the government proposes to check up a fact-checking unit. Now, what exactly is this fact-checking unit? The Ministry of Information Technology, which implements the rules, notified an amendment to the IT rule under which the government will set up a state appointment body called as a fact-checking unit, and it will look into misinformation or disinformation related only to government information and not any other information. Now, this government fact-checking body will be responsible for all the information relating to the central government schemes and other news related to the Government of India and other relevant notices, etc. And it will check if any of this information which is in the media is misinformation or disinformed, and the intermediaries have to remove that information immediately, and if they do not, then they will be deprived of the protections under Section 79 of the Information Technology Act, which grants internet intermediaries immunity from content posted by the users and other third parties. So this is about the next most important issue. This is about the amended rules of the IT for fact-checking unit and checking for misinformation or disinformation of the government. And the coming up next is Telemanus. So what exactly is Telemanus? Now, India launched Telemanus, which is a helpline. and it was launched on World Mental Health Day last year in October 10th. The helpline has received nearly 3 lakh calls and is spread across 32 states and union territories. Telemanas helpline was started under the National Tele Mental Health Program, and the program continues to develop extensive digital mental health network throughout the country, aiming to serve the individual in need. And the next most important issue is about Jatayu Conservation Breeding Center. So it is the Jatayu is named after the Vahan of Lord Rama, which helped in getting goddess, I mean Sita, from Sri Lanka. And so the Jatayu Conservation Breeding Center is a joint project of the Haryana Forest Department and the Bombay Natural History. It is a collaborative initiative to save 3 species of vultures, that is a white-backed, a long-billed, slender-billed, from extinction in India. The JCBC Centre, earlier known as the Vulture Care Centre, was established in 2001 with the UK government under the Darwin Initiative for Survival of Species Fund to investigate the dramatic decline of vultures, or the gyp species of vultures, in India. At present, the centre houses 160 vultures of the white-backed vultures, long-billed vultures, slender-billed vultures, Himalayan griffin. This is the 3rd largest collection of the 3 critically endangered gyps vultures anywhere in the world. And coming up next is about certain cautioning about a ransomware called as Akira. So the Indian Computer Emergency Response Team is an office under the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. It is a nodal agency to deal with cyber security threats like hacking and phishing. Now certain was formed in 2004 by the Government of India under the Information Technology Act of 2002, Section 70B. Under the Ministry of Communication and Information Technology. Certain has overlapping responsibilities with agencies like the National Critical Information Infrastructure Protection Center, which is under the National Technical Research Organization, which comes under the Prime Minister's Office, and the National Disaster Management Authority as well. Akira, which was in news and also spoken by certain, issued a warning that it is a ransomware. And what exactly is a ransomware? A ransomware is a type of a malware, that is a software that hijacks the computer data and then demands payments, usually to restore it back. So that is why it is called as ransomware. And the next one is who actually forecasts the floods in India, because we had a lot of floods in the northern India with Yamuna being in spate, and the Central Water Commission provides statistical methodology based short range flood forecast. Presently the flood forecast is issued by CWC at 332 stations. The Ministry of Water Resources along with other departments are also responsible for technical aspects of flood management, including the Ministry of Agriculture. Forecast is given by Central Water Commission and the IMD, and the other ministries, all the ministries are included in the management as well, like the Ministry of Agriculture, Civil Aviation, Environment and Forests, Space, Earth Sciences, Mines, Railways, etc., which have an important role in management of the floods in respective, and also the Prime Minister's Office, not to forget. So yes, the IMD issues certain color codes, alerts to different for the people in different upcoming weather events and the intensity, and these alerts are issued in case of inclement weather conditions like rain, snowfall, thunderstorm, squalls, hailstorm, dust storms, and even in the case of heat waves and cold waves. There are certain parameters which decide these color codes, and there are 4 color codes that are used by the IMD. They are green, yellow, orange and red. The assessment being based on the probability of occurrence of an event and impact based warning valid for maximum 5 days. Now what does the color code means? It means green, that is no advisory. A green means that there might be a weather event. It doesn't require any kind of advisory to be issued. Yellow means be aware. So the yellow denotes bad weather conditions and probability of the conditions might worsen and disrupt daily life. Orange means be prepared. So orange alert is being issued when extremely bad weather is expected, which might cause disruption to rail, road and air, and also power supply is expected to be disrupted. Red, take action. A red alert is issued when extremely bad weather condition is expected to disrupt transport, power supply and also poses a risk to the life. And the next coming up is J&J patent regarding bedaquiline. Now J&J, also called as Janssen Pharmaceutical, a US based pharmaceutical company, made bedaquiline, which is very important for treatment of TB, especially multi-drug resistant TB and also drug resistant TB. It was created by Johnson & Johnson 2002. Now this drug has become the cornerstone for drug resistant tuberculosis. The patent recently expired with regard to bedaquiline, and bedaquiline 2019. Johnson & Johnson applied for a secondary patent until 2027. The patent was granted in 66 middle and low income countries, which also includes 34 countries with high burden of TB. However, the Patent Office of India rejected the secondary treatment of J&J, and recently now bedaquiline is now available for creation, the generic version to be created or the secondary version to be created for helping the TB patients to access the drug, which is usually is patented and is costly to access. And coming up next is the Judicial Reform Bill of Israel. That was the news. Now the government has passed the Judicial Reform Bill, also called as Reasonableness Bill. This removed the power of the Supreme Court and the lower courts to cancel the government decisions that are deemed to be extremely unreasonable. Now protesters have called for reforms to be scrapped and also Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to resign. Netanyahu's opponents say that the reforms of judicial will severely undermine the country's democracy by weakening the judicial system, and also which is only tool for checking the government's misuse of powers and also various legislations as well. Besides reasonableness law, the government wants to weaken the power of the Supreme Court to review or throw out the laws, enabling a simple majority in the parliament to overrule such decisions. Have a decisive the government does not want the courts to have a decisive say over who becomes the judge in the Supreme Court, and also scrap the requirement for ministers to obey the advice by the legal advisors that is guided by the Attorney General, which is currently they have to obey them by law. So these are the changes that are being brought in by judiciary, and there is a lot of protest against these changes which is being brought in by Benjamin Netanyahu. And recently Rajasthan passed the Gig Workers Welfare Bill. So Rajasthan is the first state in the country to pass the Gig Workers Welfare Bill. So it is aimed to extend social security benefits to the gig workers. It aims to address lack of protection and benefits to the gig workers who were previously classified as partners rather than employees in the companies like Ola, Swiggy, Ubers, etc. Now earlier, so Code and Social Security 2020 mandated social security funds for the gig workers, including life insurance, disability, health benefits, etc. There are many features in the Rajasthan bill, like registration of the gig workers with the government, grievance redressal mechanism, state welfare board for the workers, and platform-based gig workers welfare fund, also access to social security key schemes. So who exactly is a gig worker? Now a gig worker is currently defined as someone who earns from activities outside the traditional employee-employer relationship and works for a contract with various online platforms or aggregators like Swiggy, Zomato, Uber, Ola, etc. Gig workers are different from the regular employers because they have very flexible work hours and multiplied sources of income. They are paid on the basis of the task or the services they complete rather than on a monthly basis, and they are given a commission. The gig workers also provide services like food delivery, ride hailing, home services, e-comment, content creation, graphic design, web designing, etc. So these are the issues with regard to July based current affairs for the preliminary examination coming up in 2024. And with this we finish the most important news with regard to July. And from the next post I shall be starting with August, for the month of August. And I hope this was really helpful to you all. If you did, please do like, share, subscribe, and do not forget to comment. And I shall see you in my next post. Until then, it's very happy learning.